Hey moms.
Hey dads.
Hey dads.
Hey moms.
Hey moms.
Hey dads.
Hey parents.
Hey parents.
Hey parents.
I got my first iPod Touch when I was 8.5 years old. My parents thought that they were doing everything right. And looking back, I think I severely regret that purchase because at the age of 9, I became fully addicted to pornography.
Every relationship that I have had in my life has been highly influenced by porn. I was pressured into a lot of things that I would never have accepted as love if I had not been introduced to pornography.
What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit difficult, and I understand it's hard to talk about, but someone needs to. Many women watch porn just to try to prepare themselves for what they think is going to come later on. Because we know they're watching it. We know that they're going to have expectations. We know that they're going to do these things. We try to prepare ourselves the best we can, but nothing really can prepare you for that.
I was maybe 11 years old when I found porn on our computer at home. The truth was I wasn't even looking for it. I didn't know that it really existed, but I was bored.
I feel like I'm such a professional at hiding the fact that I watch pornography.
Our culture is just bringing in terrible stuff every day. It's everywhere in all the high schools, middle schools even.
As a child, I watched porn out of curiosity, but as I got older, I watched it to learn what to expect in relationships, especially sexually. I was uneducated, and I thought that through pornography, I could learn how to satisfy my partners and how to make them want to be with me. And unfortunately, that put me in some very dangerous situations.
I was first introduced to porn at the age of 12. I quickly became addicted to it. It was, in many ways, my version of sex ed.
I knew my guy friends were watching it by the time they were like 11, 12. I said, hey, listen, do not watch this. My parents, they didn't talk to my brother because they didn't think they needed to, but they did. His friends show him porn at lunch. It's something he encounters all the time.
My best friend, she was doing online gaming innocently as a kid, and she came across some ads and was curious. And she looked into what these ads were about, and she found herself looking at pornography.
I was sexually assaulted numerous times, and I did not think that it was bad because of pornography. I wish that somebody would have talked to me about the effects of pornography. I'm sharing these stories because I have little sisters who are the same age that I was when I was sexually assaulted for the first time. I watch them falling into this stuff, and I see myself having to step in and warn them not to put up with abuse from people who should love them. And it should be their parents, but it isn't. If somebody had just taken the time to talk to me, it would have saved me a lot of heartache and a lot of abuse and a lot of trauma that I should not have had to go through.
For the next 7 years, I spent a lot of my time and my life in a cycle of guilt and hatred towards myself because of the images I was seeing.
I was first exposed to pornography when I was 12 through one of my favorite video games. For the next 7 years, I went through something I would never wish on anyone in their entire life.
I want parents to hear me when I say that they can do better and they have to, because no one should think that love is the same thing as abuse. And that's all that porn does, really, ultimately, is it teaches you to be complacent to abuse and to love your abusers for the abuse that they treat you with. I think that parents have done an abominable job. They have not taken the time to teach their children out of their own discomfort or maybe out of their own shame. And it doesn't matter what your relationship to your kids has been in the past, you're still their parent. And if you choose not to have this conversation with them, you're choosing to let them have this conversation some other time with someone else who is not their parent, because they will end up in situations that they should not be in if they're not given the proper tools to develop relationships well.
I'm not proud of the thoughts that I've had when I've watched pornography and how it's made my view of girls very unhealthy.
That was how early I learned to associate violence with attraction. That's something that porn teaches, indoctrinates us with, that abuse and violence is intertwined with love and attraction.
As her curiosity grew, she became addicted to pornography. Her parents had never talked to her about sex. She was 12.
People want to have relationships, and we want to learn how to have good relationships. And if that isn't taught to us, and we're not warned of the dangers of bad relationships, then we will find our own education, and we will teach ourselves through porn how to relate to other people. And that ends in the sexualization of young girls, very young, much too young. I think that, especially as girls, we're told from a very young age that guys can't control themselves and that we shouldn't expect them to. And I fully believe that that is because of pornography. I don't think that men can't control themselves. I think that men have been taught that they don't have to, or that it's more desirable for them to take what they want. And that's just not the case.
I think a lot of times our parents' understanding of what porn is and where porn is very skewed. We are the first generation to live in an entirely porn-saturated world.
My mother never talked about these kind of things because it's kind of embarrassing to talk about. As a parent, it's a must that we do talk about it though, because if my mom could have explained to me how important it was that I didn't watch porn, then maybe I'd have a different view on women today. I wish that she would have said something to me early on about it. And I wish I would have asked the question to my mom or felt comfortable in asking my mom the question, is it okay to do?
The thing that overwhelmed me the most, the minute I started speaking out, was how many people said me too. I don't think I had a conversation in the first 2 years that I started talking about my addiction where the person I was talking to hadn't also struggled.
I thought that was normal, that if a boy likes you, he teases you, he messes with you, he shoves you around, and if he really likes you and if you're really lucky enough, he might even want to take you to his bedroom and tie you up and smack you and choke you and do all of these things. And if you're not okay with that, then that means that you aren't okay with their form of showing love.
Honestly, to not tell a child what sex is in this world is going to let someone else be their teacher. And sadly, the internet became mine.
Porn affects your relationships with everybody, not just the people that you're in relationships with. It affects how you see everybody in the world. I can't change my siblings' understanding of relationships, and I can't protect them from this stuff. I'm still a kid, and I shouldn't have to be the one telling them that abuse is not the same thing as love. But I am. And I have so many friends who are the only people telling their siblings that they can stand up for themselves or that they shouldn't sexualize other people. I wish that my parents had had the guts to talk to me about it. I think it's not only the fact that nobody talked to me because they didn't think that I was exposed to porn, it's the fact that I know that my parents were aware of my porn addiction and they actively chose not to parent me in that area. And I get it, it's uncomfortable. I would have been incredibly uncomfortable if my father had started talking to me about it. But I was much more uncomfortable when I was sexually assaulted, and I thought that that was okay.
I know my friends had the work cut out for them, just trying to keep everyone from polluting my mind, really. I'm one of the lucky ones who got out of high school without terrible experiences. I still saw it, I still have been catcalled, harassed, all of that stuff. But I haven't gone out with anything really bad like watching porn.
This is an addiction that is so isolating and will leave you feeling so broken. Talk to your kids about this over and over and over again. It needs to be a continual, intentional, planned conversation.
And the reason it took her to that place and it took me to a place of disappointment is because we never talked about these things.
And looking back on it, all I needed was a good influence to step in and say that I wasn't dirty or out of place or worth less because I was addicted to porn.
Parents, by allowing your children to watch porn, you are linking violence and love in their mind, and that link will stay forever.
I wish that there had been someone in my life that I could have just talked about what that meant, what feelings came up. I was a kid, you know, I wouldn't know any better.
Because I've been able to open up to my family about this as much as I have, I feel like we are so much more connected now. And that only happened because of those kinds of conversations, and it's imperative for parents to start doing that.
So you have to talk to your kids about it, please. It's in what they watch, it's what they read, it's just surrounding them on all sides. And if they don't have your guidance, then what are they gonna do? They're just gonna fall into that hole and never get back out of it.
I know that your kids are going through this, and that if you don't do something, your kids are going to be affected for the rest of their lives.
If you look out into a normal school, you can almost be guaranteed to just point at someone and say they are addicted to porn, and that is the case. And yet no one is talking about it.
And it's our duty, your duty as parents, as teachers, as caregivers, to fight this.
There's a really easy solution to it. Don't let them do it.
Parents, this is necessary. If you don't talk to your kids about pornography, everyone else will. If you don't answer their questions about sex and about puberty and about anatomy and all these things that they're curious about, the internet is going to do it for you.
So please, talk to your kids for their sakes and for the sakes of many women and men around the world.
So have the conversation. Your kids, there's a good chance, are watching porn. Whether you want to hear that or not, it has to be said that there's a good chance that they're watching it.
I think that parents have the ability to make that space for their kids to talk, and they don't because they're uncomfortable. And being uncomfortable is not a good enough reason to avoid that conversation.